What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Game Show, brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my smiling and profiling co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Joey Wright. And joining us today back on the show for some more FYF action is our great friend, Brian Drake. You can find him on Twitter at Drake Fantasy. And you can find him hosting some podcasts on the FF Hustle podcast, the Fantasy Football Hustle, and on the 2 Point Stance Pod over on Fantasy Points. He's a fantasy writer over at Sportskeeda Pro Football, and you can hear him on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Drake, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, my friend.
Between the 7,000 podcasts you just promoted for me, I don't know how I have time, but I'm glad I found an hour here to come hang out and draft with you fine gentlemen.
I'm glad to see you, my friend.
We threatened the other people that you are beholden to allow you to have the free time to do this, and I see those threats have paid off.
It worked. Usually doesn't work. People don't find us threatening that often.
I remember I almost got in a throwdown with you guys in the walkway of the remember this, of the Fantasy Football Expo, going to the DoubleTree. I think it was me, Marcus Grant, and Drew Davenport. And it was this Front Yard Fantasy crew, and it was like the scene in Anchorman where all of a sudden, like, the news crews are fighting.
It was
like,
threat like you would never imagine, yeah.
And it was in a weird tunnel too, in between the parking garage and the hotel. So it was very like quiet. The air was still. I thought it was about to go down.
That was also the first of maybe like 30 times that happened that entire trip. So
JL's holding a bomb. He just killed the
guy. Well, guys, today we brought Drake here to do a mock draft with us. It is that weekend. If you haven't done your home leagues draft yet or your leagues draft yet, it's probably happening Saturday or Sunday. And we're going to help you get prepped with one more mock draft for the road as the season is about to begin. We got some people in the chat ready for today's show. Craig down here with our stats. Today's guest, Brian, is making his 7th FYF appearance. For non-game shows, which is 2 of them, he is joined for Fantasy Q&A and Brackets, where Jalen Hurts won Best QB 23 and under, and Hamburgers won Best 4th of July food. Brian,
those takes hold up.
Do you stand by both those takes, Drake?
Did hamburgers? I feel like I wasn't on board with hamburgers. There was weird corn on the cob take or something. That we got to go back to the archives and listen to that show again.
I don't know.
I'm a hot dog or sausage guy. Sausage and peppers. Hold the sauce or hold the peppers and onions. That's what I'm into. Yeah, hold the
sausage and peppers guy. Hold the sausage.
If you check our reviews on our podcast or on our show here, almost all of them say pretty good, but they got some weird corn takes. Just over and over and over again. We got Albert in here stopping by saying hello, everyone. What's up, Albert? And
hello,
Dustin
Albert.
With the what's up, everyone. And then hashtag snipe team Joey.
Uh-oh.
Feels like the anti-team Joey take for today.
Yeah, I feel like, is that Craig's account? That's what I would feel.
Jay's in the chat with the woo.
Settle down.
I put enough O's on there. We got Andrea stopping by saying hello. Nice to see you today, Andrea.
What up, Andrea?
Our favorite Canadian, Toronto. Dave, welcome in, my friend. Glad to have you here. And Dave's letting us know it's corn season, baby. Go Cornhuskers. Shout out big play Trey Palmer. We got any Cornhuskers fans here?
Cricket. I mean, I'm a Trey Palmer fan.
Cricket. But also,
I follow Syracuse football. It's bad enough. I can't follow another terrible team.
I can't wait for the Clemson.
You guys had Sean
every
Tucker?
year. It is incredible.
We did have Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker's very good. Sean Tucker's going to be the starting running back for Tampa Bay by week 10. I'm calling right now.
I love that.
He's the best running back on that team.
Over Rashad White?
Absolutely.
Man,
if you had to put them side by side against each other coming out of school, there's no question you'd take Sean Tucker. Guy was should have been a Heisman finalist his junior year. He's rushed for 1,000 yards back-to-back seasons. He's really good.
It's 5 minutes in, and you've already hurt my feelings, Drake. Just immediately shutting me down.
Pretty good. The overhit.
Well, guys, today we brought Drake on to mock draft with us. Like I mentioned, we got one spot left in this draft. I'm going to post the link in there, and we will get started with that ever so shortly. Before we get into that, though, a couple reminders. First and foremost, if you're not already following our friend Brian Drake on Twitter, you need to fix that right now. He's on Twitter at Drake Fantasy, and that's where you can find links to all of the shows that you can find him on, and his takes sitting there on his Twitter feed as well. After you follow Brian, head on back over here to our YouTube channel at Front Yard Fantasy, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, and the little notification bell will make sure you never miss JL's handsome face on your computer screen at 3 p.m. Eastern time every single day. Wow, you've been practicing that move, JL. Yeah. It didn't look as good last time you did it for me.
10,000 hours.
10,000 hours makes you an expert at anything, baby. And you've logged those in the last month. So Well, guys, like I mentioned, we're going to do this mock draft. One more reminder before that, though. If you're looking for some more prep before this starts, you can start your free 7-day trial of the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription by going to fantasyalarm.com/draft. Howard Bender's cheat sheets is in there. All of Coop's tight end takes are in there and a bunch of other good stuff. So that is at fantasyalarm.com/draft for that 7-day free trial. With that being said, our draft is full, baby. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up and we will start it. Today we are doing a 1 quarterback, 12 team PPR mock draft. So it's 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and then let's see if we had 1 or 2 flexes. And there it is.
2 flexes. Wow.
Down there at the bottom. And we'll fill as many of those bench spots as we can. Joey's going to be drafting from the 2. I'm from the 5. Drake, you're drafting from the 9. Jail from the 12. And Drake, you told me
really balanced.
You got your home league draft this weekend, and that 9 spot is where you're drafting from in a 12-team 1 QB league, right?
It's always fun when your entire league follows you on Twitter and you tweet out a link saying, watch me pick from the exact spot I'll be picking at from on Saturday night so you can snipe my picks. But the hell with it. We'll do it all for the clicks, baby. Come on.
I got sniped so hard in my cousin draft with all my cousins. They just made a game out of seeing how many of the players that I mentioned they could take and then mocking me immediately.
I have a question.
Yes.
In the cousin draft, where did Kirk Cousins go?
Undrafted.
Wow.
We made a pact. No one draft Kirk Cousins. We are the only cousins in this draft.
They saw Joey's list on Football Guys. Said, no, don't take it.
Was that all your cousins coming after me today? Okay.
I think it was. Well, guys, I went ahead and started this draft. Justin Jefferson is off the board. Joey, you're on the clock, which means it's time for me to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Mr. Scamper stopping by saying, good afternoon, FYF Sam and Drake.
Yeah, I got to meet Scampers in Canton. That was cool.
Pretty cool. Did you get a handshake, a beard tickle?
Full on hug, probably. I don't know.
Wow, that's a beard tickle and a handshake combined into one. We got Swamp stopping by saying at work and I sweat.
Same.
I bet you're sweating. And then saying drafting for Smash Saturday at 6 p.m. and drafting for
Let's go.
Jimmy John's next Wednesday.
Swamp, get the draft guide. Frontyardfantasy.com. You're going to need it.
10:01, and it's
then bring
got
us up.
not only our draft rankings in there, but it definitely doesn't have Joey's feed, as we've mentioned before. So for $10,
you guys haven't checked it in the last 10 minutes then, because I slipped those bad boys in there.
Well, Joey, you went running back after. No, you went.
No, I did not.
Over running back. I thought you were sitting there at the 3. How many wide receivers are you taking over the first running back this year?
2, and a tight end. I'm taking over the first running back too. I'd rather have Travis Kelce than McCaffrey. Just position scarcity. I was really debating, like, do I want to take Kelce here and just kind of play the room, because I've taken Chase at 2 a lot, just to see what the team would look like, but I chickened out and I went safe.
Well, I'll do it for you, Joey, and draft Travis Kelce.
Beautiful.
Right there.
Great value.
Man, that's crazy to say great value at the 5 for a tight end. Drake, how do you feel about drafting Travis Kelce this early in drafts?
I'm fine with it. If he falls to me at the 1-9 on Saturday night, I'm going to take him there. I think in home leagues, he's going to fall a little further because people get really scared in home leagues of losing out on a running back. And I'm shocked right here. Austin Eckler just fell to me at the 1-9. I've done a million mock drafts. I've never seen that. So I will gladly take Austin Eckler here at the 109. Hello.
We got some wide receiver lovers in our draft, and then me grabbing Kelce there definitely pushed it a little. And Bijan's been sneaking up draft boards for us recently. If Bijan was sitting there as well, Drake, would you have taken Eckler still over Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's another running back here that I think I would have taken over Bijan Robinson, who might come back to me in the second round if I want to throw it old school and start running back.
High T. That's a high T Wednesday right there.
I got a prescription for it. It better be.
I've been on the clock a few times this draft season and being able to choose between Eckler and Robinson. And I'll say taking Eckler doesn't feel as fun. But every time I've taken Robinson, I've been like, oh, this is great. Like, I get a little excited. I don't know. I'm excited for the kid.
Yeah, the guy whose team is going to score 3 touchdowns against Eckler, who might score 3 in one game. But I'm with you. I like the hype of Bijan. Everybody who's been drafted in the top 12, I believe, in the NFL draft, all the way back to like, I don't know, probably like 2010. They've all finished as top 12 running backs. So why wouldn't it happen again? Look at JL going double wide receiver here on the turn.
Ooh, 2 sexy ones too.
Thought about going running back, but it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex position draft. I want to see if I can get an advantage here because I really like CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was having a hard time choosing between the two. So I want to see if I go both, how's my running back situation going to look?
I love your start, JL. I'm a big fan of grabbing those 2 wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb sitting there at the 12 feels a little bit like a cheat code. In my mind, I don't understand why he's not included amongst those top tier wide receivers, like a little bit closer to Stephon Diggs. I mean, but still, we've seen like last year, he did everything we needed him to do to be included as like a top tier wide receiver, and he's still not quite there. Like I understand the stink, but he did it with the stink. You know what I mean? Like he did it in that stink with that coach, with that quarterback, sometimes without that quarterback. I love that value at the end of the first round.
I'm with you. That's why I drafted him here at the end of the first round, which I think is you're right. It is encapsulating some of that risk here with him, which maybe is why he's not going a little bit earlier in that round.
Drake, is that the running back that you were hoping would make it back to you that you said you would take over Bijan Robinson as well?
Tony Pollard. I mean, there's a chance that I would take him in the first round, depending on how things fall. But to get him at the 2-4 in that Dallas backfield, and you look at who they've got in that backfield right now, it's 3'11" Deuce Vaughn and Rico Dowdle. I mean, give me a break with these guys. This is going to be Tony Pollard all day, every day. He was a monster last year on limited touches. Imagine now if he gets 75% of the backfield touches. He's going to kill it.
I brought it up yesterday, the DeMarco Murray season with the Cowboys is kind of what it feels like it's going to be for Pollard this year, where the Cowboys just give him everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zeke had if I was prepared, I would look this up, but I think Zeke had something like 80% of their touches inside the 5. Who's going to carry those this year? It's going to be Pollard.
Pollard and Pollard alone. Those Pollard truthers are rejoicing after the last 3 years of torture of Zeke just continuing to steal the work that they swore belonged to Tony Pollard, the rightful owner of those carries. Craig in here saying everything JL does is sexy, and Dave agreeing. Same facts, Craig.
Wow. JL, sex symbol.
JL, the chat thinks you're hot. Give him a sexy thing. Oh. Nothing gets the chat going like a Komodo dragon.
God, a bunch of freaks down there.
Our first quarterback off the board. Patrick Mahomes, then followed immediately by rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Joey, you drafted him to be an RB1. He has to return RB1 value at this point. You think he will?
So what Brian just said about Bijan Robinson kind of goes for Jahmyr Gibbs because he's got that first round draft capital as well. He was taken 9th overall? Was that where he was taken?
I think he went 12th. They traded 12th? Down, right?
Okay, it was still. I think your stat still because you said 12. So yeah.
Yep.
I like Gibbs a lot. I think he's going to be really involved there in Detroit. My second round pick, I'm a little more interested in. I've heard a lot of discourse with oh, you shouldn't take 2 wide receivers from the same team. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what my team looks like. I'm going to see how I feel about it. With Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, I don't think that's a bad combo to have at all. So I was kind of hoping Devonta Smith would fall there, but let's see what it looks like.
If it makes you feel better, I fully intended to click draft on T. Higgins and missed it by 1 player and drafted Devonta Smith on accident. So in a perfect world, I would have T. Higgins on my team and you would have Devonta Smith on your team.
Well, I'm glad that this is the world we live in because we get to try new things.
But I'll draft DK Metcalf here. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Timmy's pick there. Calvin Ridley, middle of 3rd round.
Hey, with Tyreek Hill in the first and 1 pick away from getting Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which I'm sure he would have done had Andrea not taken Waddle there.
I loved Andrea's pick of DJ Moore.
Did you all see the rumors from Jim Irsay that not from Jim Irsay, but surrounding this Jonathan Taylor trade that apparently the Colts were making some quote wild requests for Jonathan Taylor in those trade talks, including Jalen Waddle they're trying to get.
It was Jalen Waddle plus, right, that they were asking for, Waddle and more from Miami. Even if it was just Waddle for Taylor straight up, there's no way the Dolphins would ever accept that. A young wide receiver for a running back that's a couple years into the league, dealing with injuries, wanting a massive contract when they just spent draft capital on a running back. Come on.
and 3 foot massages, which was the weird part of that trade. Nobody was expecting that.
And that is for 3 feet, not 3 separate foot massages.
Yes.
Jim Irsay has a 3rd foot that he keeps hidden at all times and demands that all 3 be massaged when he pays for one.
I like Swamp's pick of Jalen Hurts at the 311 after Mahomes and Allen went. I actually Hurts he's still my quarterback 1, so to get him as the 3rd one, and at that value, I like that a lot. It's good job,
Drake,
Swamp.
You grabbed a quarterback there in the middle of the 3rd round as well. Do you find yourself going early QB often this year?
It just depends if you're picking at the back end of the 1st round. When you get to the end of round 3, if you're kind of stuck and you look at that tier of wide receiver and you're like, I'm not really in love with any of these guys. And I've already got 2 running backs. And at that point, I don't want to force it with Kittle or Hawkinson. I don't need a 3rd running back at this point. So you know what? I need to differentiate myself because my wide receivers probably won't be the strength of this team, but Josh Allen can be the overall quarterback 1 in fantasy. So he can win you weeks. So I'm going to take him, and then we'll kind of see what we can put together in a full PPR with some upside wide receivers later. And we'll get one right here, actually.
Oh, I was going to see how long you could keep this high T draft going, but it might be time to bring it back down to earth.
Brocal44 just sniped me. I was going to take Christian Watson. Thanks a lot. He was going to be
nice
pick.
cow. Also, Mr. Scambers in here said, just a heads up, Waddle is older than JT. That's before you convert running back years into wide receiver years.
You got to divide by 7.
Just like cats and dogs. Or that's just dogs, right? What are cat years?
32.
Ah, of course. That makes sense.
What?
Andrea in here had a question for us. Said, is it true that Kyle Murray is not playing this year? I believe Kyle Murray won't be playing. But Kyler Murray, there are rumors going around that he's not going to play, but I believe those have been contradicted by sources close to the Cardinals, that they're intending on playing him, but the time frame still isn't present. Drake, when you're looking at this Kyler Murray situation, what are your expectations?
Look forward to him next year in Minnesota or Washington.
Or Tampa Bay.
Yeah. I mean,
or Atlanta.
Let's be honest. He's not going to be in Arizona. He's going to be on a different team. So, yeah, I mean, this year I'm kind of just wiping my hands clean. Maybe like a Michael Wilson super late. I don't want anything to do with this team. They're a high school squad out there at this point. Just punt on all the Cardinals.
Good Lord.
Avoid the Cardinals at all costs. Also, I see Dave in here saying, I like your thinking there, Drake. Not sure about what, but boy, does he like the way you think.
Me either. I just drafted DeAndre freaking Hopkins.
Yeehaw.
Go Tigers. And JL, you drafted a Tiger there on the turn. Travis Etienne at the end of the 3rd round. Almost got him in the 4th. What a value that would have been. But just a close value got him there at the end of the 3rd. We've talked about him ad nauseum. But I had one more question for you. How much work do you expect rookie Tank Bigsby to come in and take from Travis Etienne? Is this going to be a 1A, 1B situation, or do you think Etienne has the 1 role locked down?
I think Etienne will have a solid portion of that work locked down. It's anything I'm predicting this early on is just that. It's a prediction because we don't have the information to know exactly how they're going to split this up. Looking at the team construction and the talent of these 2 players, I think Etienne will be fine. And I think they'll probably start trying to use him in the pass game, I would hope, this season. And that gives him major upside.
Trevor Lawrence being his quarterback gives me more hope that they will do that they have that previous connection. They've done it in college. Hopefully we start getting some of that on that Jacksonville Jaguars offense. Drake, are you in on Etienne this year, or is it a little too rich with the rookie in town for you?
Well, and I loved Etienne coming into the league. I'm blown away that Darren Waller got steamed up to the end of the 4th round by Joey. Holy smokes. I was hoping to get him a little later. But with Etienne, I mean, there's just so many questions with the short yardage work, and he's never caught over 3 passes in a game last year. Is he really a good pass catcher out of the backfield? There's a lot of ifs and buts there, and they invested a little more in the receiving core so they don't have to lean on him to catch passes. I don't know. He's kind of a guy, like, if he falls to me at a great value, I'll go with it. But boy, I don't want to get stuck with a guy who's just kind of a between the 20s grinder and without much upside.
Joey, are you feeling similarly about Etienne, or are you a little closer to JL?
I am worried about ETN. Earlier this offseason, I was all in on ETN. I was excited for him, but man, Tank Bigsby, Jacksonville really seems to like him. So I mean, I've got him dropped down to around like I think running back 15, 16, somewhere in there. And I had him as high as like I think running back 8 before the Tank Bigsby draft pick.
Toronto Dave in here saying the Josh Allen anchor and then go wide receiver sense. That's the thinking that he likes from you, Drake.
I'm glad somebody's on board.
We got Jay Wall in here saying, "Hey y'all, what's up, Jay Wall?
Jay Wall,
good to talk to you. I'll be in Dallas this weekend. Look for me. Scream my name." So Scamper's down here saying Craig is correct. We don't know about what, but he's always correct. And Dustin wants us to change Scamper's second round pick to a tight end just for the look of the draft board.
Ooh, that's symmetry.
Yeah, we'd get that diagonal line going straight across of yellow.
Yeah.
I was about to throw a question over to Drake, but that is my classic move. He is right on the clock. Drafted Mike Williams. You're drafting an all Tigers wide receiver core, Drake. Are you a big Clemson fan like we are, giving up on Syracuse?
Well, I mean, I've already got orange shirts, so I kind of fit in here. You're the one team we play tough every year for some ungodly reason.
I don't get it.
Every
Just
year.
show up to
Terrible.
that game and we don't.
Yeah, Syracuse is awful. Like we may lose to Colgate this weekend, but
But
yeah,
you'll
lose to
definitely
a
make it a race against Clemson.
You'll have fresh breath.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike Williams has a great chance in this revamped Chargers offense if they're going to be pushing the ball down the field a little more. You know, I'm not as high on all this Quentin Johnston talk. I mean, I don't think he's going to come in and immediately displace Big Mike or Keenan and even some of the other guys like Guyton and Palmer. But yeah, I love Big Mike because when he's on the field, you know he's going to catch balls deep down the field and he's going to score some touchdowns. So, Brocale's about to time out.
See who gets jail. Tell us how you feel about Mr. Big Mike Williams.
Oh, and he got Jonathan Taylor.
Haha, that's what you get for auto drafting, Cal.
This is serendipitous because just this morning I found myself consoling a friend of mine for drafting Mike Williams. They're like, oh yeah, I hate Mike Williams, but it's whatever. And I'm like, wait. Hold on just a minute. Why do you hate Mike Williams? And his concern mainly came down to, I think, what most people are worried about with Mike Williams, which is the injuries there that he's been dealing with throughout his career. I get that. I understand that concern. I would make the argument that that's built into his draft price, and the upside that he has is unlike the other wide receivers or other players going around where he's being drafted. He's on a high pass volume offense, and if they start using him in the short range field, throwing him some short range passes like they did not this past season, but the season before that for a bit, I think they'll start to give him opportunities to really run with the ball and make plays happen. So that's my thought process around Mike Williams. I am drafting him all over the place.
And you don't have to make a pick. Joe. We got Geek stopping by in the chat with the afternoon, my dudes. What's up, Geek? Welcome in. And Scampers with the "you just got tailored." Yeah, that's what happens when you auto draft right now before ADP has updated. You're going to get yourself tailored. On that Mike Williams point, I wish I could remember who said it on our show, but someone came on the other day and said, I don't know what they're talking about with all this injury stuff. If you look at his last couple seasons, which if you pull it up, yes, he played 13 last year, but the season before that, 16, 15, 15, 16. It was really only his rookie year that he missed more than 3 games in the season. I think his health problems are a little bit overblown. And that was you, Joey?
Yeah.
Thanks, Joey. Great point. And I'm just recycling it. But his health concerns are a little bit overblown, and he's got the upside that both you guys mentioned in this Kellen Moore-led offense.
This is just like a home league where you get to the point where you run out of all the names people really know well, and it's like, all right, we're pumping the brakes on the draft here and go up and get another beer.
Or we're all of a sudden
on Kyle Pitts.
The board looks a little bit more like ADP, just in order once you hit this point. Joe, you like Kyle Pitts at this value in that offense?
As the 5th tight end at that point after Hawkinson that far, yes, I do.
Joe, is that who you intended to take? I see it put you on auto draft.
No, but that's okay.
I can change it if you would like.
Sure.
Who do you want at that spot instead before swamp drafts?
Give me with Kamara.
Kamara with that 3 games.
I'm gonna veto that because I want him to fall to me.
There we go. I saw something the other day. I think Craig put it on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken, that in his home league, they do a slow draft. But if you time out, everybody after you can rush in and make their picks, just like in the NFL draft.
Great thing to do.
You're in support of that, Drake?
Oh, yeah. We do that in our league. Like, if, it's a 3-minute timer, but it's an in-person draft, so, it never really gets enforced. But we've had times where guys have taken it forever, and the next guy just runs up there, and they're like, oh, I'm going. See ya. They throw it on the board. Here's a player nobody wants to draft because of what he did last year, but there's so much hype on this offense, and this guy is such a productive player. If he just finds the damn end zone a few times, he's going to be a top 15 wide receiver. It's Mr. Deontay Johnson. That's my 3.
That's where you were going. How high do you have him? What are your expectations for him this year? Wide receiver 2?
Who, for Deontay?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think he can be, with the pass volume he's going to see. We're going to see George Pickens ascend into the next level where people are going to be like, wow, George Pickens is really, really good player. But Deontay Johnson is just going to be that consistent underneath threat. And this is a full point PPR. I mean, he's probably going to see 8 targets a week. And if he can catch 6 of those for 75 yards and God forbid he scores a touchdown, now you're cooking with gas as your wide receiver 3, Deontay Johnson. This was a guy who was flying up draft boards a year ago, but just like Miles Sanders a year ago, when he didn't score, everybody pushed him down. Oh, I don't want to draft him. He doesn't score any touchdowns. Well, what if he does? It's a new season.
I love that pick. I think that he is very undervalued. And like you keep mentioning, he's your 3rd wide receiver. And it feels like he's the perfect 3rd wide receiver. If he's your 2nd, it's too early. If he's your 1st, it's definitely too early. 3rd, perfect.
So I recovered here from my kind of 0 wide receiver start with Hopkins, who I'm not sure about at all. Big Mike, and then Deontay.
I like that.
I'm fine on Hopkins, actually. When he's on the field, he's one of the best wide receivers in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he even proved that last year.
There was a time, I think last year in a league, I think DeAndre Hopkins went in the 1st round. And I just got him at 4-4.
Last year?
I think it was a year or so ago. I don't know. Either way. Well, I remember he got suspended last year. He wasn't hurt. He got suspended for the PEDs. Look at James Conner going right there, 6'10".
Ahead of I took DeAndre Swift there, James Conner. There was another running back that I was deciding between, and Joey just took him. So I was interested to see James Conner go before Alexander Madison. Joey, what are your thoughts on Madison taking over as the lead back in that Vikings backfield this year?
I trust it. I was leery. I wasn't drafting. Sorry, I'm about to make another pick. Whoa, that's an un-Joey-like pick.
Look at you.
I was very leery on Madison because I thought they'd bring Dalvin Cook back or they'd go get someone else, but they really didn't. They addressed it a little bit through the draft. I think Madison's going to have the role, and being the running back on the Vikings has been a good fantasy asset the last 8 years. So yeah, I'm good with it.
I think my hesitancy comes down to the limit, the times we've seen him take over as that lead back, and some of the, maybe it's just one of those like fantasy burns that I'm having trouble recovering from, where it seems like a slam dunk start for Alexander Madison. Then he goes out there as the lead back and gets you 7 points, but it's such a small sample size. You look at the opportunity in front of him. I tend to agree with you, Joey. The chat is going off about Mike Williams and the way he gets injured. Scampers in, you're saying he gets banged up in game. Dustin says it's not the missed games. It's the questionable tag headline into every week where you don't know if you can start him or not. And Apple MVP following up on that, thinking that we as a fantasy community need a better way to discuss injury, because looking at games played retroactively doesn't necessarily paint the whole picture.
It's a great point.
I remember Mike Williams last year. He went up and caught a ball literally horizontal when he caught the ball and just fell straight down onto the ground, held onto the ball. And I told my wife, I looked at her, I go, imagine doing that. Mike Williams jumped up in the air. He was probably 6 feet in the air, right? Caught a ball running full speed and then just fell to the earth. Imagine what that has to feel like. Oh, Timmy's killing me over here with the Javonte Williams pick in the 7th round. I love it.
Just sniping you over and over. That's how Mike Williams plays. He's probably one of the most exciting wide receivers to watch. I just remember exactly what we were talking about, Drake, in college. That dude will climb the ladder as high as he can get up with no regard for how his body's going to hit the ground. Just as long as
he does he have a ladder on the football field?
It's invisible, and it's because he got special approval. Invisible ladders are not banned in most stadiums.
That ladder match.
Really? I will double check that.
And there goes your tight end, Drake. Dallas Goedert.
Didn't think he would come back to me, to be honest. I was debating him with the Deontay Johnson pick, but Deontay Johnson just has so much more upside. But Dallas Goedert, when he's on the field, he's good. Before week 10, he was, when he got hurt last year, he was tight end 4. So he's a really good player. And that Eagles passing tree is short. It's AJ, it's Devontae Smith, it's Dallas Goedert. That's it. They didn't throw a touchdown pass to a running back all last season. Maybe that changes this year with Swift, but it's not exactly check down city with Mr. Hurts.
I was gonna say my team sure hopes that changes this year.
I'm worried about Swift.
What about
any of those Eagles guys are going to be great? I wouldn't draft any of them, and I'm a huge Eagles fan.
Yeah, I just with Swift last year, he is exactly what the Lions needed, and they just kind of let him go. And when they go and got Gibbs and they got David Montgomery, I'm thinking they know something that Swift is just okay. It's done. That he's not a good pass catching running back. I think a lot of people are counting on him to be that, and I think if he was that, the Lions would have held on to him.
I thought that was this whole thing, was the pass catching for Swift.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's what the Lions are trying to get out of him, and they couldn't get it from him the way that they saw it. So now he's not there, and it's rubbed me the wrong way all off season. I wake up at night and just think about it sometimes.
Jill, I was so close to drafting Marquise Brown there, but Drake just put that Cardinal stink in my mouth at the beginning of the show, and I had a hard time brushing it off enough to draft him.
Oh, I will happily draft him here in the 7th round. I did not think he would fall this far. I was going to take him in the last pick.
Even shitty offenses have fantasy value somewhere in them usually. Most teams have a fantasy relevant player, except for the Texans pre-Damian Pierce last season. They didn't have any fantasy relevant players.
The one exception.
I truly remember looking through and thinking, like, there isn't a single person you can start here this week. Multiple weeks for the Texans.
This is interesting. You're looking at the running backs on the board here. As I'm trying to fill out some flex spots. If Dalvin Cook was still a Minnesota Viking, Dalvin Cook's off the board in the 2nd round. Probably.
Yeah.
Now he's on the New York Jets, possibly a better football team, but he's got that Breece Hall thing. You just don't know. Mm-hmm. He hasn't practiced all summer. Look at this guy. I mean, Dalvin Cook, that talent falls to the 8th round. We'll see if someone scoops him. I'm going to take a guy who is, I believe, coming off the board at like RB 32. Starting running back, plays literally every snap with his starting quarterback in the preseason. Nobody wants to draft this guy, Mr. Khalil Herbert.
Ooh.
I like that pick. What I've seen from him in the preseason has made me even more excited. I know there's a lot of hype for Roschon Johnson, and I don't mind Roschon Johnson as a late round flyer because there is definitely uncertainty in Khalil Herbert being able to manage that full load. But what we saw and the moves they made around him, I think they're ready to at least give him a shot at being the lead back in that offense.
Feels a bit like James Robinson has been here. Get a little bit of that James Robinson stink on Khalil Herbert.
No.
Could be. And we see that. You're right, JL, where there's these guys that come into the season and you're like, oh, this guy's the starter. But you never feel good about him. You're like, that guy ain't going to be a starter by the end of the year. Like, let's be honest. He's a placeholder. Could be the case with Herbert. You got Foreman there. You got Roschon Johnson, who great player out of Texas. But for the moment, as my 3rd running back, let's light a candle and say a prayer.
You talk me into it. I'm doing it. I'm taking Dalvin Cook. At this point in the draft, the kind of upside that you could have with a player like him, 4 consecutive 1,100-yard seasons coming into this year, I'll take it.
Here's what I'm thinking the Jets are just doing with Dalvin is it's really just a stopgap for Breece Hall to give him that comfortability, that breathing room to come back at his own pace and not jeopardize the season. That combined with the fact that he didn't look quite as good last year when he was running, I'd be worried. I think Dalvin Cook is could be a great pick in this draft, Simon, because what you can do is if he has a great first couple weeks, you go and trade him.
Yeah, I don't mind that. As Breece Hall gets healthier, gets more in tune with his offense, maybe move Dalvin Cook for some more pieces. Joey's just getting exasperated up there, and Jay getting real sick in the chat of Brian Drake sniping him over and over. Joey, did you get sniped again?
No, it's so like me taking P. Ryan. Like I've really started falling in love with Zach Charbonnet the last few weeks and the role that he could have there in Seattle. And I've actually kind of found myself cheating on P. Ryan a little bit. We don't talk about it, but I think he knows. And I've been taking Zach Charbonnet a little bit when I normally would be taking Samaje P. Ryan.
So you bet P. Ryan on Ashley Madison, and we're not going to
okay, Simon? About it.
Well, I was about to take Charbonnet there. You've been falling in love. I've been in love. And Scamper's just coming in. Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. But my pick of Trevor Lawrence, this is something I want to point out. I took him a full 2 rounds after Justin Herbert was the next quarterback taken before him. And I love Lawrence. He's a top 8 quarterback for me. I believe I'm having him at QB 7. And if I can get one of my top 8 quarterbacks as the last one of those guys, as the 8th guy in the 8th round, I love that value. I didn't reach, took him at really good value. That's what to do. Don't reach for quarterback.
Who are you trying to convince?
I want to extrapolate upon that, Joey, because that's a great point.
Okay.
Everybody now, and I took a quarterback in the 3rd round, but you're going to go into home leagues this week, and people all kind of have that mindset now, like I got to get Mahomes, I got to get Allen, Hurts, Burrow, Lamar, these guys early. And then you're going to sit there and see your buddy, like Joey, in the 8th round, take Trevor Lawrence, and you go, damn it. Look at the roster he built, and he got his quarterback in the 8th round, and I just spent a 3rd round pick on a guy, and he took Jahmyr Gibbs in the 3rd. It's going to happen.
I will say, though, where you got Josh Allen and where Jalen Hurts went, I think that was really good value for their talent because they're in a tier above Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert and Lamar Jackson for me. So I don't think you wasted your pick, but I agree with what you said because you were complimenting me, which I think is always important to do when you're on the show. But I think your pick was really good value. It's the value is right. You didn't reach for him because I've seen Mahomes and Allen going in the 2nd round on home league drafts over the last weekend.
Drake, what you just described is my reaction when I look at JL drafting a quarterback in the 11th round of every single one of these mock drafts. Then I look back at the QB I took in round 4 and I'm like, what the hell? You just got Aaron Rodgers at the 14th round. Like, that's fine. I'd roll with that.
If you can get Tua, I don't know if that's who he's going to take, but if you can get a guy like Tua in the 11th round, Tua is going to put up top, let's say 5 numbers most weeks when he's healthy. Tua is fantastic, and nobody wants to take him.
I do. I'm going to get him in the next round.
All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe Josh Allen needs a backup in this mock draft.
No, I'm all in on Tua this year. That has been my late round quarterback target because exactly what you're saying, Drake. If he's on the my only question for him isn't can he be a top 5 fantasy quarterback? I think he showed us that he can be. It's can he be on the field for 17 games? And I'm taking the bet. Yes, I know we've been mocking him a bit for the martial arts training to avoid head injuries, but I saw a little compilation of the way that he was absorbing hits in the preseason and at practices. And you know what? I'm buying in. Looks like he actually did learn some techniques to make those hits a little less substantial. Yeah. You add that up over the course of a season, it makes a difference.
It's got to be encouraging when a player is taking care of themselves and making steps to make sure they don't get hurt when that's the biggest concern coming into them. I know Tua is not thinking of the fantasy value, but thinking of his NFL value. And it's encouraging when you see that.
Oh, JL, we've come full circle. Your love affair with Rashad Penny has ended up with him back on your team. No longer a 1st round rookie pick, though. He is now a 9th round, end of the 9th round backup running back pick. How you feeling about that Eagles running back situation this year?
Can I undo my pick?
No, you already used your mulligan.
Oh, I'm back on the clock.
Oh, I'll ask you after that. Drake, I'm going to throw this to you since you're a big Eagles fan. When you look at this Eagles running back core, you mentioned earlier that it is ugly. You're not drafting any of them. Do you think there is one that's going to separate themselves from the group, though?
No, not at all. No. I think if you want a running back in the Eagles backfield, just draft Jalen Hurts because he's going to score a ton of touchdowns, scored 13 last year on the ground. They're just going to mix it up so much. Even you still have Gainwell. You got Boston Scott, Swift, Penny. I mean, it's only so many balls to go around here in Philadelphia. And if they're kicking people's ass in the second half, they're going to grind a little bit, but I don't know. It's just not for me right now. I want clear paths to touches, and there are no clear paths right now in that Eagles backfield. There is a starting running back still sitting on the board right now. What are we, 10 rounds into a draft? And I'm shocked by it, but it's a player that makes me physically ill to draft.
I'm looking at it.
It's fair.
In a PPR
I'm
league,
disappointed in myself for taking Rashad Penny.
Also, we got Craig in the chat saying, Joey not doing that Burrow stack surprised me. Then Dustin coming in saying, I only took Burrow to stop Joey from getting the stack. And Craig,
I wouldn't have.
Craig saying, you see, Dustin, the problem with my comment was I can't read and didn't see he was taken. That's incredible that you're typing. Joey, you would not have gone Burrow there?
No, that'd have been too early for Burrow, in my opinion. I would have taken Lamar Jackson over Joe Burrow. And yeah, at the 4-11, that'd have been too early for me.
You guys mentioned earlier when we were talking about Justin Herbert and that offense, that Herbert being like a tier behind those top guys. Do you think with all the hype and love we're giving to the Kellen Moore offense, to Mike Williams, to Keenan Allen, that maybe like even at QB7, we're sleeping on Herbert a little bit, that if he's chucking the ball around, he could easily or should be considered in that top tier with those other guys?
If healthy, he might have the 3 best wide receivers in the league right now with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnston. Like, that is a sexy trio right there.
Wasn't he QB2 or QB3 just a year ago?
2 years, yeah, 2
Right.
years ago, yeah.
2 years ago?
Well, it was a year ago. Sorry, yeah.
So
a
a
season
year.
ago,
I mean,
so
it's in his range of outcomes. He's done it. But he's a guy, he's not going to run a ton. So he's got to get it done in the air. He's got to throw 40 touchdowns. And maybe that happens this year, which is why everyone loves Lamar and Fields and Allen, because while they could throw that number, they don't have to, because they're going to get, a couple thousand yards rushing, maybe, or a couple 100 yards rushing.
Does feel a little safer when your QB only has to throw.
There goes Tua.
Oh, good, Tim. Yeah, glad you got your second quarterback right there, Tim. That was really cool. Bitch.
Wow.
There's your player, Tim. I know you wanted some Devon Achane on your team, but he's on my team now. Is that the player that was making you physically ill to draft, Drake?
No, it was Brian Robinson, who in a full PPR I have no interest in, for real. But I mean, he's my 4th running back. That's kind of one of those depth plays you just make, and you're like, you know what? If somebody gets hurt, or you got 2 flexes in this league, maybe you could trade him. But other than that, I mean, Brian Robinson's never going to catch any passes. So,
Tim in here with that. Hey, Simon, watch this. Yeah, nice job, Tim. And Andrea.
Joey's going to be on the clock here. Quick, Joey, tell us your long-winded thoughts on All In.
I'm really sad that Dustin, you piece of buffalo wing.
Jameson Williams off the board. Joey loves suspended players.
Drake, to answer your question, I hate that the CM Punk news has overshadowed what I thought was a really fun event. That's my short-winded thoughts on it.
I was trying to get you to screw up there. I was going to take Nico Collins in the last round. That's a great pick.
Thank you.
It was between him and Jamal Williams. I think that's a great play with Nico Collins. And someone's got to catch the ball there. Everybody else is a little slot receiver. He's going to play the X. He's going to be outside. And, he's going to get a ton of targets. Marvin Mims, your next selection, is going to start hopefully for the first 3-4 weeks. And the worst, he's the 3 on that team.
Joey getting that late round wide receiver value.
I was a little sad when I was like, the Cook or P. Ryan pick, I probably should have taken a wide receiver there. But getting Collins and Mims, I'm like, okay, I feel a little bit better now about my wide receivers. I would have liked Jameson Williams. The 6 games suspension doesn't bother me.
We got a question in here from Z Money. He wants to know if we can rate their squad. It is my pick, but I'm going to throw this to you guys. So they've got Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, ETN and Ramondre Stevenson at RB, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver, Mark Andrews at tight end, and George Pickens at their flex. They just want some compliments.
Z Money knows the answer to their question.
Yeah.
Your team's loaded, bro. Sick. You're going to win the league.
Yeah. Find 2 more friends. Come on. Make this a 12-man league.
That team is sick. Nice drafting.
You ever know it's never a guy that's like, hey, rate my squad, and it's like, Josh Dobbs and, Raheem Mostert and these kind of guys?
Probably because they're ashamed.
Yeah, they never come out.
If I would have to point out, I don't think it's a weakness per se, but make sure you've got some good running back depth on your bench. Because it could be some weird way that sorry. I didn't see.
Money says my bench is horrible.
You got plenty of time to build it up. Go get Roshan Johnson. He'll be great.
Doing the Simon strategy, the glass cannon.
Yeah, that's how you need luck in fantasy anyways. Though that is depth. As the season goes on, you consolidate your depth into top tier starters and then have it So a single injury can ruin your entire fantasy playoffs. That's how I like to play. I'm either winning or I'm going out and I have an excuse.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't have gotten injured, I would have won it all, baby.
Oh, I hate that guy at the draft. He can go home.
It's the one where it's like, yeah, it's guaranteed to be a high pick next year.
Jonathan Taylor ended up going in the 5th round in our league, guys, in this mock draft. It was auto drafted. We brought it up previously, but I was curious where you guys would be taking Jonathan Taylor now, knowing that he's at least not going to play 4 weeks, and there's some serious lack of clarity around when he actually will play and what team he's going to be on. Drake, are you comfortable drafting Taylor at all at a certain point, or is he on your don't draft list?
I mean, he's going to miss the first month, so 4 games, boom, he's out. We don't know if he comes back and all of a sudden it's one of these, my foot hurts, I'm not going to play. And they kind of just, behind the scenes amicably say, all right, we're just going to not play you. You're hurt, wink, wink. I don't really want to touch him. I mean, if he's there in the 6th round, I guess, but why dive on that landmine? Let someone else do it. People are like, oh, I'll get him late 2nd round. No, take Josh Jacobs there. 3rd round, take Jamar Gibbs. Take Breece Hall, take Pierce, Mixon, take any of those guys over him.
Someone who's going to play the first 4 weeks and isn't actively seeking a trade because they hate the team that they're on.
Yeah,
it just stinks.
I would really have to like my first 4 picks to make that move in the 5th. Because listen, if he only misses 4 games, that's going to be a great pick and it's going to pan out for you. It's tough to see that situation getting settled in just a month. But you never know. Josh Jacobs settled on the weekend, so.
Z Money saying I could pick up Kareem Hunt. IDK if he has a team, though. I don't think he's signed yet, but Drake, do you have any interest in Kareem Hunt this year once he does sign?
Pretty small.
I mean, where's he going to sign?
Z Money is.
He hasn't practiced all summer with the team, so we don't know what kind of shape he's in. This always reeks of a guy coming in and then practices and then boop, soft tissue injury. Oh, he's got the hamstring. He's out for a few weeks. So I always like to stay away from those guys who are coming off the trash heap.
I can't tell if Z Money is taking a selfie in the mirror or ripping a bong. Could somebody
why not
clarify that for me? And it could be. Well, only one hand is being utilized. So then again, I'm not up on the everything.
On the selfie game. Dustin in here agreeing with you, Drake, saying Hunt is hot, wet, trash. At least the top of the garbage pile portion of the statement that you said there, not to put other words in your mouth.
Steaming?
That would be steamy trash. He could have just cut out all those adjectives and made it a lot shorter with steamy trash. Let's see how
words were using, guys.
Let's see how Tim ruins my day here. Who did Tim take right there?
Oh,
yeah. Cool. Thanks, Tim.
That's a dumb good pick.
I'm never drafting next to Tim ever again.
There's truly nothing better than Simon tilting because of a pick. It's every time it's fun.
I was thinking of taking Ross right there. I figured he'd come back to me in the 13th.
Not with all the Clemson boys you got in this league.
So you guys are all Clemson guys. So I remember he was good in college. There's a lot of players in that wide receiver room in Kansas City. Can he stand out and be viable for fantasy on a week-to-week basis? Because this isn't best ball. You got to actually put him in a lineup right now and hope he doesn't score 3 points. Can he do that this year?
I think he's another big body for Patrick Mahomes to target in the end zone. MVS didn't work as that other big guy in the offense last year the way they had hoped. And I think Justin Ross, if he is truly back up to speed, if he is healthy, which it might, that's yet to be seen. He made the 53-man roster, so that's a good sign. But he is that kind of big-bodied wide receiver that can be another end zone threat alongside Travis Kelce for Patrick Mahomes. And I could see him with 7-8 touchdowns this season fairly easily if he does establish himself in that role.
Before he had his medical spine injury kind of revealed in college, we were talking about Justin Ross as a projected 1st-round NFL pick, a rookie. He's extremely talented. He can reach that level that you're asking about, Drake. I don't know if he'll be able to do it this year. I don't know if he'll be able to do it in Kansas City because I don't know if he is so talented that he's going to push out all the other competition there.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, JL. It's not necessarily the most likely outcome, but at this point in the draft, to get a guy who at the very least should be a contributor, but you're taking your shot and betting on that talent.
It's a high upside bet. And at this point, 12th round, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for high upside bets.
Which high upside bet am I going to take here? I don't like any of these.
I'm still available.
You're right. I don't need another tight end because I got Travis Kelce. You know
That's
what we're going to do?
Because you got me.
Because I don't need another tight end because I got JL. We are going to pair my rookie quarterback that I hope pans out with a safer veteran quarterback who I still think has some upside in Mr. Jared Goff right there.
Woo! I like that pick. Is that your golf call?
Yeah, that's my golf call. I'm excited.
All of a sudden, the door busts down. Jared Goff runs into Joey's office.
Oh, that'd be fun.
What?
I'd like to meet Jared Goff. That'd be fun. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Z Money said, I'm all ceiling, no death. We going to the moon. Just got to pray, no injuries.
Yes.
Play the waiver wire, my friend. You got to be playing that waiver wire and right going into week 1.
Yeah, watch for the running back injuries and don't be afraid to spend big early. The number of seasons I got to the end of the year and I still had $60, $70 of fab. And I'm just like, why was I sitting on that? Why was I waiting in week 1 when a running back went down? Why didn't I spend $90 on that running back on the waiver wire? Know your team, know what you need. And if you need that player, don't be afraid to spend your fab early in the season because more times than not, you end up staring at a lot of leftover budget at the end of the year.
I liked Jay's selection of Tajay Spears there. I think he actually, in the PPR league, will get a little bit of receiving work to him maybe on bye weeks, flex relevant. So I like that pick for him.
They're going to throw the ball in Tennessee?
A little bit. Just a little bit like this. Just like that.
Just I shouldn't do that. Just forward.
Yeah. There you go.
Tyler Boyd off the board.
At the end of the 13th round. Nobody wants to draft Tyler Boyd. He was PPR wide receiver 34 last year. Averaged a little over 10 points a week. I know it's not sexy, but man, is it in a 2-flex full PPR league? You can do a lot worse than Tyler Boyd.
He's safe. There's almost no upside. We saw that last year. The Chaser Higgins going down. It's still just exactly the same role for Tyler Boyd. But you did not need upside whenever you're getting just 10 points a week. There's safety in that. The jail, you mentioned earlier, the way you built your team, you're looking for high upside shots here at the end. If you took some riskier picks in the beginning, maybe a pick like Tyler Boyd helps balance your team out a little bit, gives you some security while you're waiting for some of those early round picks to see if they pan out.
That's a great point. Yeah, you should complement your earlier strategy with your late round strategy.
The player I was about to pull out of my ass, Swamp, also drafted, so it works out. Garrett Wilson. I know he's incredible. I know he's great, but it is a new situation, a new quarterback, and over the course of a full season, that's a little bit riskier than some of the other wide receivers up there. I love grabbing a Tyler Boyd whenever that's one of your early picks.
How long has Garrett Wilson been up your ass?
Going on 3 weeks now. The Docalax has not worked. I took 3 of them last night and just gave me a tummy ache. Hopefully I'll pass that that Gary movement a little bit later today.
One time I got a new job and I didn't poop for 2 weeks and I had to go see a doctor.
Were the two related?
Had to go because I couldn't go to the bathroom.
Not the doctor
I got a new
part, the job part.
Yeah, they said I was really stressed out because of my new job. It was a lifestyle change too, because I was working like 3 a.m. till 11 a.m.
Like,
yeah, it's real stressed up. All stopped up.
They didn't have toilets.
Bitch, Tim's sniping me now.
Tim's just coming in here with a chaos energy to take everything we love. You're in on Luke Musgrave, rookie tight end there?
In the 14th, 15th round? Absolutely. I mean, you look at what he did in the preseason in terms of his usage. I want to say the final game, only Christian Watson ran more routes with Jordan Love and were on the field for more snaps than Luke Musgrave. They don't have anybody else. He's going to run around the middle of the field. There's no more Randall Cobb. There's no more, big dump truck tight ends to hang out and clog up the middle. He's really athletic.
Man, what is Jeff Driscoll doing these days, speaking of dump trucks?
Probably driving a dump truck.
Yeah, we got to look him up.
That was rude. Oh, my God.
John's down. He's saying, I think Ross should emerge eventually. He and Tony are the highest level talent guys there, but it could be next year. Mahomes absolutely loves him. And Dustin
loves him.
Wanting us to put some respect on Isaiah Hodgins' name. Joey, you putting respect on his name, or are you disrespecting Isaiah Hodgins in the face of Dustin's request?
I'm not going to disrespect Isaiah Hodgins in the face of Dustin. In my home league draft, in my very last pick, before I took a defense, I took Isaiah Hodgins. I think out of all the wide receivers there in New York, he would be the one I would want on my team. I think Darren Waller is going to lead the team in targets, but you're going to get a wide receiver, I think Hodgins is probably the best bet.
Jumps on Curtis Samuel there.
We got a practice squad quarterback coming off the board here in Tommy DeVito, former Syracuse guy.
Mr. Scamper is just maybe flirting with you by grabbing the
think he's
Syracuse
flirting.
guy right there.
He's
Tommy
putting his
DeVito
little tail
sucked
up at you.
balls when he was in Syracuse, so got no love for him. We
No
haven't had
love.
any
Any relation
quarterback
to
in
Danny?
Syracuse since Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question as Joey asked. Is there any relation to Danny DeVito?
He's about the same size, to be honest.
My
I'd like to see
favorite-
Danny DeVito play quarterback.
My
He's so
favorite
little.
sports commentary moment of all time came in a Clemson-Syracuse game, and there was a Syracuse player that juked out a Clemson player. I can't remember who it was, but the announcer said, "Oh, he really sauteed him on that play." And I've never heard that verb used in that context, but it just stuck with me. And it made a ton of sense for what they did to him on that play. Drake, you're on the clock for one more pick here. While you're making that one, I'm going to remind everybody here to go and follow our friend Brian Drake on Twitter at Drake Fantasy. We're wrapping up this draft now. Drake was kind enough to come in here, share some of his insights and expertise with us and with all of you. So go and give him a follow on Twitter at Drake Fantasy. JL, what are you doing with your last pick here?
Cole Hardman.
Cole Hardman. Speaking of Chiefs wide receivers and lottery tickets, he is no longer a Chiefs wide receiver. He's a Jets wide receiver. They were there in Rodgers. Is this the year? Change the scenery going to make it happen?
Yeah, it's the Hard Knocks love.
The Hard Knocks love getting Hardman as Mr. Irrelevant in our draft. Guys, that is going to be it for us this afternoon. But if you aren't sick of us yet, in about 40 minutes over on the CBS YouTube channel, Joey, JL, and myself will be live for a game of Fantasy Feud on the CBS St. Jude Podathon. Let's come over there, support a good cause, and watch us kick some CBS ass in about 40 minutes over there for charity, of course, for charity. Guys, that's going to be it for us today. Drake, thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Thanks for having me. You guys are always the best. I have a good time every time I come hang out with you dudes. You do the most fun show in fantasy, and I'm always so happy that you think highly enough of me to bring me on the show.
We love having you on. Appreciate you taking 7 different breaks from your workday to come on and hang out with us. Show number 7. Really appreciate it, Drake.
Lucky number 8 next.
What workday? Oh, never mind. It's another story.
We're gonna hit the double digits before we know it. Everybody watching, thank you so much for tuning in and drafting along with us. Like I mentioned, you can catch us in about 40 minutes over on the CBS YouTube channel, and then we'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, doing a similar but slightly different thing on the Fantasy Football Game Show. Until then, we are out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Adios, everybody.
It's accurate.
Guys, we really sauteed.